listening to LOA Recon with the Good Vibe Coach Jeanette Ma, where we dissect the ins and outs and the art and science of conscious creation, all intended to amp up your manifesting game. Let's have some fun together. We're having such a nice quiet afternoon here at the house. I thought this would be a great time to record another episode because I just read a review from a listener in Australia who writes, Jeanette, thank you for these podcasts. Just listening to your infectious giggle and audible joy for life lifts my vibration before I've practiced a thing. They also tide me over in between calls on GVU. If you love these podcasts, I highly recommend joining GVU for much more in-depth law of attraction discussion, but with the same level of easy this podcast brings. This is the review saying this, not my own words, but I couldn't have said it better. Thank you, Australia. She finishes, I can't tell you how much I enjoy the instantly uplifting, joyful lessons you share. Thank you. Thank you for listening and for leaving such a fun review that inspired me to sit down and record another one. We haven't actually done a Q&A this month yet, and I've got more of those questions in my inbox. I've been spending a lot of time in the kitten room and the puppy room. Oh, they're foster kittens and puppies. Let's see, the fosters they're going to be 8 weeks soon. And the puppies are just about 3 weeks. Oh my gosh, you guys, I literally am living in heaven. They're so much fun. So yes, the questions have been piling up in the inbox. But I thought we'd knock out a couple of these today. So here's the first one that I have on the list. This question has come in a couple of times from a couple of different people. I sometimes hear this from clients wondering the same thing as well. Here's the question. How did I manifest that? Maybe you've asked that question before too. I gotta say, before I even go down the road to help someone connect the dots on what happened in their world to connect the vibrational dots, I want to ask, is that really the most helpful question we could be answering? And I know that sometimes it is. For some people, they are going to get a lot of relief just to understand how they were party to this manifestation because they don't want to feel like something happened to them out of the blue, but they're really clueless about how they ever could have been a match to something like that. So how did this happen? Sometimes people find relief and empowerment in answering that question, in exploring it even. And sometimes we don't. Sometimes all that question does is keep us, I want to say, stuck in the same energy that we don't want. So sometimes I like the question better, what should I manifest next? Or what would I love to create next? Instead of, how did I manifest that? So just ask yourself before you go down that road, is this really helpful for me to explore? And when someone thinks that it is, what I just ask is, so how did it feel? Whatever manifested, whatever happened in your reality, how did that feel? And they'll name how that felt. And then I ask, have you felt that way before? It's kind of a simple connection to make. And the truth is, most of us offer a lot of mixed vibrations, and thus we get a lot of mixed results. And our vibration management plan is all about getting more consistent with the vibrations we'd prefer to be experiencing rather than being all over the map. Abraham calls us sloppy thinkers, and how we will entertain things that serve us in no form whatsoever. And I like the idea of getting much pickier about where we focus and how we're willing to feel. But that's probably as much as I want to say about that. I know sometimes in my own life there'll be something it'll have a big question mark around it for me, and I'll just try and shake it off. Like, you know what? I don't have to understand this. If it doesn't feel like it's going to serve me to go down that road, I'll just shake it off and okay, let's look forward. What's next? Instead of keep that old stuff activated. And then when I've got a little bit of distance from it, sometimes I can come back to it and see it more clearly. So sometimes the timing makes a difference as to how well we can answer that question. But I really wonder whether I think most of us could come up with a better question to explore than that one. But it comes up often enough that I'm including it here. So that's my answer. I don't like to answer that question. Okay. And you know what else I wanted to say about that? You know what? Is it possible that what you're looking at, like Because I get the question from people who usually it's something bad that's unfolded. They didn't want that. They're wondering, how did I attract that? Look, I think it's worth asking, is it possible that it's actually a good thing instead of a bad thing? Like your evaluation of it might be what's off, not your vibration, not your alignment. And sometimes that stuff's easier to see in hindsight. Okay, let's go on to the next question. A trusted psychic. Oh no, I got this question in a couple of different forms. One person was writing about like a card reader or a tarot reader. Another person was writing about a psychic. Someone else I was on the phone with was saying this was a trusted psychic, a credible, a clairvoyant. So I've had the question in a couple of different forms. Sometimes it's just someone that we don't even know who they are, but other times it's someone we believe what they say, and they said something we didn't want to hear. What do you make of that? How do you handle that situation? I actually do. Some of them ask the question saying, you probably don't go to psychics, but do you have any advice? You know what? Sometimes I do. We have a fabulous, I don't think she calls herself a psychic, but at Good Vibe University, we hear from Janice Whiting of Lifted Spirits. Every other month, she and Ming Chi do a call for us where they answer questions from Spirit. I do personal sessions with Janice now and again. But my favorite way to answer this question is, I have a lot of things I want to say about this. I'll try to keep it short because I was just going to say we don't want a super long episode, but I get enough reviews from some of you saying we love the long episodes. Okay, so I'll just take my time with it. I do myself on occasion seek out that sort of input, only when inspired. And here's what I like to do with it. I pay attention to what they say feels. If they say something that feels fabulous to me, I'm all in. If they say something that doesn't, I know it doesn't apply, or at least it doesn't have to apply if I tend to my focus appropriately, because no one knows my future better than I do with my own vibration. No one's telling me what's happening, first of all. Everything's happening. If we look at quantum physics, right, multiple realities, infinite versions of life are all happening, and they're all happening now. So how do I know? They're tuning into one version. There's a bazillion other versions that I may prefer to experience, that all I have to do is change my mind, and I'll experience that other one instead. They don't know what I'm going to think tomorrow. They don't. Okay, so I value their input based on how it feels. Sometimes that helps me know what I want. Like, oh my gosh, I was married. I'd been married for a couple of years, and I went to Carol Green. I say her name with such reverence. Oh, she was in Salt Lake for years. She was just the first witch I knew. She didn't advertise that way. She was a card reader and an astrologer. I loved her. And my aunt sent me for the first time. Actually, the first time I went to her, I was 16 years old and I was irreverent and rude. And I took my girlfriend with me. And at the time, this might sound strange, but at the time I was living on the streets. I'd run away from home. My aunt sent me because, my parents were like, our daughter's in crisis. My aunt sent me to the astrologer, and I went because it was my birthday. It was the 16th birthday present she gave me. And Carol, she said, you guys you're gonna write me and say, forget those long episodes, Jeanette. That's way too many stories. All right. So Carol said to me, and I wasn't going to school anymore either. I was like, it didn't look good for me. And running with not a great crowd. I'm smiling as I remember it. So she said, you're going to graduate from college in something really practical. Either, she said, teaching or business management. And, she said one other thing that was, and that the college would be middle-sized. Anyway, it was just hilarious that she thought I was even going to graduate high school, let alone go to college. I laughed so hard. I'm not proud to say this. I laughed so hard. I was literally rolling on the floor laughing. And I wasn't one of those rude people. I wasn't a rude person. I could be polite, but what she was saying was so ridiculous. I laughed so hard I fell out of my chair. My girlfriend did too. So, I ended up going to Utah State and majoring in business. With an emphasis in marketing. That girl called it. It was she called it. Okay, anyway. So that was my first trip to Carol. And yes, I literally laughed my ass off at her. But after that, I was like, whoa, maybe she knows some stuff. So I went to her more times. In fact, I went to her once when I'd been married for a couple of years. And it wasn't a great marriage. On our honeymoon, I said to my husband, this isn't a happy memory. I feel for him. I wouldn't want to be married to me. I said to him, but I didn't say this without good reason. I'm just going to add that. We're on our honeymoon, and I asked, do you know what the time frame is for getting an annulment? Because if we have to get back to the States now to undo this marriage, we better. Ay. That's the kind of marriage I was having on my honeymoon. I said, how does an annulment work? It didn't get better, you guys. So this is long before I was LOA savvy. Just going to say that. Okay, so I'm at the psychic. I'm married. Maybe I've been in like 3 years. I'm 3 years in on this marriage. And I just resigned myself, because I'd been raised. When you get married, you marry for life. Divorce isn't what we do. And so, there wasn't any considering any divorce. That wasn't going to happen. You just have to grin and bear it, the same way my parents were. It's what I figured marriage was. I was having my parents' marriage all over again. And I went to Carol, and she said, oh my gosh, you guys, what she said was so crazy. You were all gonna write me and say no more long episodes after I tell this totally irrelevant story. She said it was a big shake-up card, like big shake-up. I don't know what the card's called. Many of you will know it. Big shake-up, like to the foundations. And what she said was, she was pulling all kinds of cards. This poor girl, Carol, she's trying to lay it out for me without coming right out and saying it. I should have known. My coworkers were telling me, your husband is cheating on you, Jeanette. My coworkers were telling me this. And I was like, never in a million years would he ever do that. No way. You're wrong. That can't be. In hindsight, it looks pretty obvious. Who knows? To this day, who knows? I don't know. And it doesn't really matter. But in this reading, Carol's showing me big shakeup. There's another woman. There's deceit. And okay, she's telling me all this, and I'm like, it's all over my head. Like literally none of it is registering with me. And she says to me, ooh, well, there's something happening, and it is going to shake your marriage to its foundations. And she turns a card, and she says, but you're going to stay married. And in that moment, I didn't know anything. I didn't get another woman. I didn't get deceit. I didn't get shaken up marriage. I didn't get any of that. But when she said, you're going to stay married, I instantly knew I did not want to be married. In my stomach, something turned. My stomach, physically, something happened, and I knew in that moment. I did not know before until she said I was going to stay married. I knew then I did not want to be married. And you know what her advice to me was? She said, your husband has something to tell you. That's as much as she would say. She was so polite. And so I called my husband at work. I got home from that reading. I called him at work and I said, my card reader says you have something to tell me. And I said it kind of like, I didn't say, my card reader says you have something to tell me. I was like, it was kind of funny. My card reader says you have something to tell me. Kind of joking. And he started stuttering. He started hemming and hawing. And when I heard that, I knew, I understood. There is something he needs to tell me. Oh. Okay, that's as much of that story as we need to hear. So my experience with psychics has been, whoa, they can offer some pretty powerful insights, but I like it mostly for clarity. I did not stay married. We were divorced, I think we were married 4.5 years total. So it wasn't long after that he actually was the one who said, I'm going to go do what I have to do to be happy. You should do the same. And okay, this is fun. I got a fun story here. And I cried and cried and cried and cried and cried that night. I cried all night. Cried, because I knew what he meant. When he put his hand, I could still see his hand on the doorknob, leaving the house after saying, I'm going to go do what I have to do to be happy. You should do the same. I knew what that meant. I didn't need a card reader to interpret anything there. Cried because I knew my marriage was over. But also, he was the one who was ending it. It wasn't me. I couldn't get out of a marriage, but apparently he could. That guy was supposedly religious. So he was the guy who was supposed to be marrying for life. But no, apparently not. Praise the Lord and hallelujah. So I cried all night. And the next day, you know what? That's probably not a story for family ears. We're going to tell that story some other time. Oh, but it was a happy story. Okay, so it always is happy when we give ourselves that release from the contrast, right? When we stop doing that routine that keeps us, like, it feels like we're underwater. You know how Abraham uses the analogy? Like, you don't have to figure out what to do to get what you want. Just stop doing what's keeping you from it, because it is natural for you to be in alignment. It is natural for you to love and enjoy and appreciate. And when you just stop doing what isn't that, your cork naturally rises. You'll float. And it was like that. Like, it was just like that. It was so beautiful. So, where was I? Psychics. This is me answering a question in 5 minutes or less. Not, okay. That's how I feel about card readers, clairvoyants, whatever you want to call them. Look, I understand. Sometimes they say powerful things. And, there was another girl I went to. She's also local. Cindy Kleintop, astrologer. She gave me a reading once that just made no sense to me whatsoever. She said, you're going to get a small car and you're going to love it. It seemed like the most random thing. Look, my family didn't drive small cars. We did not. I did not. I was the opposite of small cars. I had a 66 Caprice. That was my first car. And then I had a big four-wheel drive truck. And then I had small cars, not my style. Oh my gosh, guess what? I wasn't even thinking about it, but sure enough, shortly after that reading, I got a small car. I don't know what she saw in that. There was something in the third house. I don't know how she picked that out. But and I still have that car. I bought it in 2003. I love that freaking car so much. It's just a little Ford Focus, a hatchback for the dogs. It's perfect. I put the back seats down. It's perfect for me. I love that car. Okay, I get it. Sometimes they say things that we might believe, but we are always in charge. That's how my take on it. Go to bed. There's no barking. I'm recording, buddy. There's no barking. The wind just kicked up and he didn't like it. So I filter, I sift through the input that I get, depending on how it feels to me. If they say something that feels fabulous, I'm all in. That sounds great to me. It gives me another reason to believe. If they say something that doesn't feel fabulous, that's my cue to make sure my alignment is on what I want instead of what I don't want. And sometimes hearing someone tell me that is what helps me with that clarity, especially if it's a credible source. So I believe there's no higher authority than myself for what I'm going to experience. There isn't someone who has some secret insight on what's happening because I'm in charge when I remember to use my powers. So I also like that teaching from Abraham that reminds us when you are thinking a thought that your inner being doesn't agree with, it doesn't feel good. So if you're thinking a thought that you don't like, it means it's not true for you. Your inner being is saying, yeah, not that. It's not in agreement. Well, that solves everything. Anytime anyone says anything or I think any thought that doesn't feel good, I know my inner being disagrees. It sees it differently somehow. And that helps me know I'm not going to be stuck with that. Oh, I spent way too long on that question. Sorry, everyone. Next question. Finding the better feeling thoughts is really hard when I'm tired. How do you handle that? Yeah, it's hard for me too. I know exactly what you mean. You know how I handle it? I get some sleep. I prioritize sleeping. Self-care in a variety of ways makes all my manifesting work easier. I don't even want to try to tell you how to find, if someone else knows how to find better feeling thoughts when you're really ornery, or look, sometimes the better feeling thought has a swear word in it, or it might not sound very nice when you're ornery. And I know I can get really ornery, very irritable. I could be very short-tempered if I haven't slept proper. So sleeping proper, that's really important in this house. And most of my friends know it too. Everyone knows. Do not mess with Jeanette's sleep. It's not good. So yeah, if you find it difficult to find good thoughts when you're worn out, get some rest. That's my tip. Okay, next question. I'm going to make up. I'm moving fast now. Okay, next question. Is it possible to see results from affirmations in 1 to 2 days? Yes, absolutely. I've seen it happen in 1 to 2 minutes even. Yeah, all day long. Not even surprising. Next question. Do you still do one-on-one coaching? Yes, I do. I don't advertise it. You aren't going to see it first right up there on my website because I do it on a very limited basis, but yes, I do. I think there are other ways to engage me for support, including at Good Vibe University, including my master's circle, including 5RX is there. But yes, I do one-on-one coaching. This one came in a variety of ways as well. How can I remedy? One person had a split in their family. The family split. They were arguing with each other. And for another person, it was happening in their friends group. And they both wanted to know how they could help manifest everyone to get along again. Could you hear my sigh on that? Like, first of all, it's not our business that they get along. That's not. Our business is how we feel. That's our business. It isn't our job to go out there and make sure everything is set up perfectly so that we can feel good. They get to do what they get to do. And, those splits, those arguments, those battles, it could be happening for really good reason. Again, contrast, it's really, really important. We wouldn't want to wish someone else's contrast away because that's where expansion comes from, including our own contrast. We wouldn't want to get rid of our own or someone else's. And we couldn't, even if we wanted to, because we're all free will creators. Yes, we're co-creating this. Yes, our focus does have influence on others, but we cannot create in the shoes of another person. So here's my tip. When you've got loved ones who aren't getting along and you wish that they would, I would practice letting it be okay that they aren't getting along. Just make some peace with it. Let it be okay. Because when you resist it, you're actually fueling the very outcome that you don't want. So making some peace with it is a good start. In fact, I think that's easier to do. If you knew something amazing was coming from this upset that's happening in this circle, you'd see it differently, right? Like if you knew for sure something amazing is coming from it, you probably wouldn't want to wish it away. At the very minimum, I think we can use our knowledge of energy and conscious creation to at least not add to the contrast they're already experiencing by worrying over it with them. So, my tip, let it be okay. If you really, look, in some circles, this is considered voodoo black magic, when you try to influence another, but I've heard Abraham say, the best you can do for anyone else is just see them thriving. So instead of knowing that they're at each other's throats or they're backstabbing or whatever it is, whatever story you've been telling or seeing, shift that instead. If you're going to hold them in mind, just hold them in mind with love. Maybe send them some love. See them in love and see them thriving, see them happy. If we're going to be thinking about them, let's think about them in a positive way. But I'm also okay with letting them duke it out. We came here for the whole range of human emotions. We didn't come here just for the good ones. So sometimes we get to go do those other ones. And you wouldn't want to take that from anyone when you know something amazing is coming from it. We know that. Conscious creators know that. It's not a hypothetical pretend question. We know something amazing is coming from that contrast. I just got goosebumps. Oh my gosh, this is almost 25 minutes long. I'm going to stop now. Thank everyone who made it to the end and wish you all happy manifesting. Bye, everyone.